I'm Lisa Seals, Director of Financial Aid at Imperial Valley College, and as Todd mentioned, we are housed at Imperial Valley College, but we are going to do a presentation regarding financial aid in general, and we are also here to help you, even if you're not planning to come to Imperial Valley College. So the plan is to do a very short presentation, general financial aid presentation, and hopefully spend most of the time here answering your questions regarding financial aid. Okay, so applying for financial aid. First of all, what is financial aid? In very general terms, it's the money provided to students and their families to help pay for college, just what it sounds like, right? What is the most important thing to know? Apply, apply, apply. Everyone should apply. Even if you think you may not qualify, it's very important to apply. Do not disqualify yourself. Maybe you think that you may not qualify, so you don't want to apply, or maybe you have a sibling and your sibling didn't qualify for aid. Now that there are two of you in college, it may be that you both may qualify because now the family has two students in college. So there's any number of reasons. Maybe if it's not grants that you qualify for, even if you want a student loan or scholarships at the school, it is important to apply because most colleges will require this as the starting point, the FAFSA application, which we're going to talk about next. So FAFSA. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It opens on October 1st, which is just right around the corner, for next year, okay? Or when you're first year in college. It is the first step in applying for financial aid to any college or university that you plan to attend. So not just here in California, all across the states and even some other countries. There are some schools that will use the FAFSA for aid here from the United States. And the website is www.fafsa.ed.gov, and that's where you want to go after October 1st, and you want to apply for the 21-22 aid year. We will be planning to do Zoom workshops to help you with this. You're welcome to go on October 1st to start the application process. But we traditionally have gone out to the high schools to help you fill out your FAFSAs online. So things are going to be a little different this year, but we are planning to visit your campuses virtually through Zoom, and you will get those dates from your high school counseling offices. This year, you can also fill out the FAFSA using My Student Aid mobile app. So this is a mobile app that's available to help you do the FAFSA. So that's two options for you, the web version and the app version. For students who do not have a Social Security number, you may be able to use the California Dream Act application to apply for state aid. It's important that you talk to your high school counselor or to a counselor at the college that you're planning to attend to see if this might be an option for you. And this is the website for the California Dream Act application. The FSA ID stands for Federal Student Aid ID, and before you complete a FAFSA, you will need to create the FSA ID. Okay. It is a username and password that will let you electronically sign your FAFSA. You and at least one parent will need an FSA ID, and you will need both of you will need your own personal email addresses in order to sign up for an FSA ID. You cannot share the same email. On our website, and we could go on the website after this presentation, there is an FSA ID worksheet that we have that will help you, give you some tips on how to complete the FSA ID and the important information that you need to keep track of in order to make sure that you don't lose that FSA ID, which you will use from year to year as long as you're in college. We also have an FAFSA worksheet. So if you are planning to come to the Zoom and online and let us help you fill out the FAFSA, or even if you're planning to do it on your own, what this worksheet will do is help you gather the information that you need to complete that FAFSA in advance. Now, both of these will likely be given to you by your high school, but they're also available on our website. All male students 18 to 25 are required to register with Selective Service to receive financial aid. So we like to let our students know this, and you can register using the FAFSA. The FAFSA is going to ask you a series of questions regarding the income of you and your parents, your family size, things like amounts in checking and savings, but sometimes the information that they ask for is not really reflective of your current situation. Maybe that we're asking for 2019 tax information, and maybe the unemployment status is different now, or maybe your parents' marital status is not the same, or maybe you can't provide parental information. Something that is not exactly like it's put on the FAFSA. These are called special circumstances. And you can talk to the college financial aid office where you're planning to attend to make them aware of these special circumstances. And then adjustments can be made. But it's really important that you reach out to those financial aid offices so that these adjustments can be made and a proper determination of your eligibility can be made. So, what is important? Apply early. You'll hear a lot about a March 2nd deadline. Okay, so on March 2nd, that is considered the Cal Grant deadline. But schools could have earlier deadlines for their institutional funding. So it's really important to find out what the deadlines are at the schools or different schools that you're considering attending. Applying early gets you the most money for college because funding is often awarded on a first come, first served basis. And just to remember that you do need to apply every year, so every October 1st. After you do the FAFSA or the DREAM Act application, you will be getting a student aid report. It's very important that you go through that information, make sure that everything looks correct and make any corrections if necessary. Follow up with whatever college that you are planning to attend, okay, or considering attending. I mentioned that FAFSA is just the first step that gets sent to the schools that you indicate on the FAFSA, but you often will need to do something else to complete the process. So you have to reach out to those schools that you're considering attending. And always ask questions. If you don't know, ask. We do have several financial aid TV videos on our website, and most of the videos apply to any college, not just IVC. There's also some links here for some helpful video series, both on the Financial Aid TV website, on our website, and on YouTube from Federal Student Aid that can help you if you're planning to do the FAFSA on your own or your parent is helping you work through it. There are some good videos out there to walk you through the process step by step. Okay. In addition to those resources, we are here to help you. Okay, we are not open physically at the moment, but we are working virtually Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can reach us through email at this email address here. This is our phone number. We have a virtual lab Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Zoom, and this is the link. You can also reach it just by going to the IVC website, click on Financial Aid and Scholarships, and then on that front page, you will see this link for our virtual lab. And as I mentioned before, even if you're not planning to come to IVC, you can visit us at the lab and we will help you with your questions. So to recap, you will need to create an FSA ID for yourself. You will need to create an FSA ID for at least one parent. You need to complete the FAFSA or the DREAM Act application, and if you need help, complete that FAFSA worksheet and attend a FAFSA workshop when we're visiting your campus. Review your student aid report. which you will receive via email, and follow up with your college to see what else is needed to complete your financial aid file. Okay. Questions?
Yes, Lisa, thank you. I was trying to click on the unmute button real quick to chime in. Thank you very much. Thank you to you and the IVC financial aid team. There's been a couple questions that have come in. One of them was, hey, where's that link for the DREAM Act application? Where would they find that?
They can find that on our website. We have a DREAM Act page. So let me see if I can go there. Okay.
And as you're doing that, I'll line up.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay,
so that it looks like you're at the IVC webpage.
Yes. And so you will go for students, financial aid and scholarships. Oh, and by the way, we also have a chat bot questions. Down here, you'll see it in the right corner, questions. You can ask Pepper. She is our chat bot, and you can type in your questions here, and it'll get you to the general area or the specific page that you need to get to. She will also answer questions in Spanish.
Sounds good. So at the IVC webpage, which by the way, I believe is imperial.edu, you go to for students, and then there's a financial aid tab right there, and that's where you can get more information about the DREAM Act.
Right, financial aid and scholarships, California DREAM Act right here. Mm-hmm. And there you go. Click here to apply.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the DREAM Act, what exactly does the DREAM Act do? If they're not very familiar with that program, maybe they have a Social Security card, and so they're just kind of questioning in their head. What does the DREAM Act do? Or DREAM Act application do?
It is the state version of the FAFSA for students who do not have, who have AB 540 status. So these are students who attended a California high school, don't have a Social Security number, but they did attend a California high school or elementary for at least 3 years and graduated from a high school here in California. So these students are eligible for state aid. And the AB 540 designation does come from the school, so you have to apply for that status from the actual school that you are attending. And so that in conjunction with completing the California DREAM Act, which is very similar to the FAFSA, but it does have this separate application because you would only be eligible for state aid if you were in that situation, and no federal aid. So that's what that application is for. And as I said before, if you're unsure as to what your status is or what application you should be filling out, you can talk to your high school counselor. They should be able to walk you through that process. And you can also reach out to somebody in the financial aid office of the school that you're planning to attend.
Now, Lisa, your team, I know, hosts virtual labs throughout the week, and I'll preface that if you could, maybe I'll ask that question next about, I think you mentioned in your presentation, but if a student logged in a little bit late, maybe they missed it. Can you share that information?
Okay, so if you go to For Students and Financial Aid and Scholarships, here is our walk-in virtual lab, and you just click on this Zoom link right here. And then you will go into our Zoom lab. We're open from 9 to 5. And you will be in a waiting room because we bring in students one at a time. And we have some breakout rooms where we put you in. And that's because generally you're asking questions, right, about your specific financial aid information. So it's you won't have to be asking that question in front of other students, just with somebody on staff. And so that question, if it's a quick question, may be answered right away. If it's more in depth, we do have specialists who always have at least one specialist available to answer those more technical, more difficult questions regarding financial aid. So this is where you can get one-on-one assistance, just like we do normally. So on campus, when we are on campus, we have an actual physical lab, right? 24 computers in a room with a specialist in the room and other assistants helping us. helping you fill out your FAFSA and answer your questions. So we're trying our best to replicate that same thing via Zoom.
Great, and what a tremendous service, by the way, that you guys do. So you can just click on that. That Zoom is open now. Presumably, you may have to wait a little bit because you don't know when you log in. There might be, unbeknownst to anybody else, there might be 10 people who log in at the very exact moment. So there may be a bit of a wait, I would imagine, but you're going to get personalized attention. I love it, and so thank you guys for providing that. A couple other quick questions along that line. You guys have, you mentioned April 1st. What's happening April 1st? Or essentially, when does FAFSA, when can they apply for financial aid? October 1st, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, October 1st.
It was in my mind, it just wasn't in my mouth.
That's when the FAFSA opens, so 21, 22. And actually, that is when we will put those worksheets up. The reason we don't have the link, we will have a link here for our high school seniors. And the reason we don't have it up until October 1st is we don't want you to get confused and start applying early, because you're going to be applying for the current aid year instead of the aid year that you need to apply for. I mean, it's okay to apply for the current aid year, especially if you're planning to attend summer school, right? Because summer school at most colleges and here at IVC is actually part of the current aid year, right? Not fall 21. But it's very important for all of you who are planning to attend college next year to make sure you complete that 21-22 FAFSA. So that's when we will have on here our high school seniors page. You can click on that. That's the FAFSA worksheet will be there. The FSA ID tip sheet will be on there as well. And the links for the FAFSA and the California Dream Act will be on there as well, starting on October 1. We just didn't want to confuse our seniors and have them start applying for the wrong age year.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. Thank you, Lisa, for doing that. So a week from today, Thursday, October 1st, is when students that are in high school right now, seniors presumably, can begin applying for financial aid for the following year. That's the school year of 2021-2022, when essentially you're a freshman at whatever college or university you're going to be attending. But you mentioned something that I think is so important, because there's a lot of students who are on the line. By the way, we have about 100 plus students on the line waiting to hear all this information about FAFSA. And these are the type of students who after their day of Zooming at school, they've logged into a Zoom about financial aid. So these are, in my personal opinion, these are high achieving students. And so they may want to take a course at IVC to get a head start on it this summer. As soon as their school gets out, they may want to start a summer school. So did I hear you say that financial aid, if you qualify for financial aid for this summer, that would be an application that would be in this current school year, so they could fill that out right now?
Yes, the 2021. That is the 2021 FAFSA. Also, it is very important before you do either one of those things is to create the FSA ID, which you can do right now. Okay, so you should be doing this right now. You're going to create an FSA ID for yourself, and one parent needs to complete the FSA ID as well. So this is the website for that.
One of the questions we had, speaking of parents and their FSA ID, I mean, we love parents, I'm one of them, but sometimes they've gone in and created an ID and we're trying to figure out they already have it or they don't. Here's a question, what if one of my parents already has an FSA ID? Maybe they've gone to school or maybe they did it for an older sibling. Is there anything unique that this particular student as a high school senior would have to do?
No, the parent's ready to go. So it's just the student who needs to create the FSA ID, and the parent should already have theirs. So, and if not, that they can retrieve it, through, as long as they've got access to that same email that they created it with. All right, and my staff is shaking their head. They're the ones who deal with this every single day. I'm looking for confirmation from my staff.
Sounds good. And let me scroll through some of the questions that were submitted to financial aid ahead of time. I've been answering a lot of live questions. By the way, it is about 2:30 or 2:25 on my clock. So if you've tuned in for the Higher Ed Week here in Imperial County, you know that at the top of every hour we have a new college or university. Right now, I guess technically we have financial aid, which branches across every college and every university you would be considering financial aid. This session right here works for all of them. But at 3 o'clock, I guess, is the next top of the hour. We're going to have some representatives from Imperial Valley College's career education program. In high school, we call that CTE, or career technical education. At IVC, we call it career education programs. And then at 4 o'clock, if you want to stay tuned in for that or come back, at 4 o'clock, we have San Diego State. The San Diego campus will be joining us at that time as well. But back to financial aid. So there are a couple questions.
Just a moment, but on the FSA ID, one of my staff did ask to share that you shouldn't be using, if you have an email address from your high school, that's not an email that you should be using to create your FSA ID. So this should be an email address that you plan to keep after, okay, a personal email address, not something that will be closed up after you leave high school. Sorry.
Yeah, what a great point, because a lot of students, they think of their email as their school email, which should be, Calexico whatever or imperial.usd, whatever your email is from your local high school. But this is something that you're going to be using with financial aid when you're at a college. So
it is, and it's very important. I know a lot of students, I'm a parent as well, and email is not the way that you are used to communicating electronically. You're using text and social media, and a lot of colleges do use those as well, but the main form of information that you will be receiving in most cases is through email. So as archaic as it may seem to you, you will need to get familiar with using email. So it's important to have that personal email address.
Perfect. And by the way, students, if you're tuned in right now, at the bottom of the Zoom meeting is a question and answer tab. We certainly have some time right now. At the end of this session, we'd love to hear any questions. So if you have a question that hasn't been answered yet, feel free to chime in. A number of the questions that have been asked in the chat or in the question and answer chat have been answered. But let me give you a couple more, Lisa. There's a quick question about financial aid and scholarships. The difference between those two, what would those be?
Well, scholarships are considered a form of financial aid, but in general, when you do the FAFSA, you are applying for federal aid and state aid. Okay, so student loans, federal Pell Grants, work study, all types of aid. And most of the colleges will also use it to award their institutional aid. Scholarships can come from any place, right? So maybe your parents' employer or the college that you're going to, like the IVC Foundation has a number of scholarships. You can go on there are several search engines. So if you go to our website, the Financial Aid Scholarships page, we have a scholarship sub page, and on there are several search engines that you can use to help you locate maybe scholarships that are given, like I said, by all types of agencies that you might qualify for. Every year there are, hundreds and thousands of dollars, if not millions, that go unused because the applicants are simply not applying for scholarships that are available. And so what these search engines will do is you will enter information regarding yourself and maybe your hobbies and your interests, and maybe things like your ethnicity and different background information to try to match you up, because scholarships can be given for any type of situation. These are different agencies and businesses that provide scholarships for different types of situations. So it may seem like they're asking a lot of personal information. What it is important to know, though, is that you shouldn't be paying for this. There are a lot of free scholarship search engines. The first word in the FAFSA is free application for federal student aid. You shouldn't be paying anyone to help you complete that FAFSA. You shouldn't be paying for any search engines. If somebody's asking you to pay them before you get a scholarship, it's a scam. Okay, so if you're looking at something that's too good to be true, jump on our Zoom and ask us, because we've probably heard it from somebody else, right? So because we have a lot of students, if somebody's calling you on the phone and telling you that they're from the IRS and asking information about your app, IRS is not going to call you. That's probably a scam. So be very careful, and if you have questions, ask.
All right, great. And speaking of asking, if you have a question for our financial aid team, you see myself in the little window up in the corner, or maybe at the large corner now, or maybe you see Lisa. But she has a whole team behind them, and will be answering questions as well. So real quick, a couple that came in. Some of them are specific. Can someone with a special type of visa apply for the California DREAM Act? That sounds like it maybe might be a specific answer to that question to that student, so they may need to log into the Zoom to get the details of that. Okay.
Yes, there are many different types of visas. So.
And then somebody asked about the link to create the FAFSA ID. Maybe they logged in a little bit late because we had talked about that. That's at the financial aid webpage. There's a link specifically. Well, actually, the FAFSA ID, where would that be as opposed to, is that a link on your webpage as well?
Is that link on our webpage, guys? It should be, right? Letty, you're muted if you're talking. So let me share my screen. I'm sorry?
Yeah, I don't think it's on our website. I'm not sure, but I don't think so.
It's right here. It's a federal student aid website, fsaid.ed.gov.
Okay, so federal student aid. And what was that website again, Lisa?
FSAID. Go ahead.
FSA.
ID.
ID.
.gov. Let me test that in. No, oops. FSAID.ed. There you go. Yep.
Perfect. And then a couple of questions about can I apply next year? I think that question was specific to next school year. When can this, I know we've asked and answered these questions, but sometimes students kind of log in a little bit later. So when, once again, can students begin to apply for FAFSA for next school year, the school year that they're going to be going to college?
October 1st.
Which is a week from today, I believe.
Right. 1 week from today, they can log on and begin the FAFSA.
Okay. And then there's a couple other questions that are very specific to a student's family situation, whether they're living with parents or grandparents and all these different things. So it seems like a lot of those questions would probably best be answered in a Zoom meeting. So can you maybe go back on and show exactly where students can log in to ask some of these specific questions? It might be a little bit more personal in nature.
Right.
And, you know, we're talking finances and, you know, family income and all those things.
Okay.
Where would they go to find that information?
All right, let me. So they're going to go to the IVC website. So start out main page. There's the For Students tab, Financial Aid and Scholarships. And on our very front page, a big Zoom button. That's where you want to go.
Lisa, it's also on the front page of the IVC page for in case. You know,
you're right.
So they don't have to go too many steps.
Our different offices. So if you go to here on this, you'll see that there's a bunch of Zoom rooms for different offices on campus. So if you have a question about applying for AB 540, if you think that that might be the way you need to go, you would want to go to admissions and records. If you want to Zoom with us, you go here, financial aid, right on from the very front page. If you have a question about paying fees, if you're planning to attend IVC, there's a Zoom there as well. And online tutoring is available here, our district counseling office, as well as our EOPS and CARE programs. So several of the departments who have Zoom available from 9 to 5 are on the very front page. Thank you, I've forgotten about that.
Perfect. And another quick question that came in. If I have completed the FAFSA for 2021, maybe they're either a current student somewhere, or maybe they maybe are planning to go to summer school or something, or maybe they did it for some other purposes. Do I apply again October 1st for the following school year?
Absolutely. You must apply every October 1st, right, for every school year that you're planning to attend. Now, this person will have a leg up because the demographic information will already be there, right? So the information is going to pop up like name and address and that type of information will already be filled out from your current your previous application, right? And you just need to make any updates. So what will be new is the income information and the number in household and that kind of thing. So it will be a little easier the second time around if you've already done it. But yes, absolutely very important to that you do need to file every year.
So every year that you're attending college or university, you need to fill out a FAFSA application and do it again for the current year, because obviously that makes a lot of sense. Obviously your finances change every year. You have W-2s and everything every year. That sounds, that makes a lot of sense. Now, a quick question, up to how many school codes can students input while applying for the FAFSA?
Is it 10? Is it? Yes, okay.
All right, so 10 codes to a school. So, and if for odd chance that they are applying to 10 schools and they don't get into those 10 schools and there's an 11th school out there, would the financial aid be able to be used at that 11th or 12th school if for whatever reason things totally change in their life and they end up going to a school that they didn't initially do? Is that hard to add them later?
No, they just go back into the FAFSA and add another school.
Great.
Yeah.
The answer to a lot of these things is that was easy.
Yeah, and you know, even if you're not planning to go to IVC, if you add IVC onto your FAFSA and you want our help, it's actually easier for us to help you if we have access to your FAFSA information. So it's like I said, even if you're not planning to come here, you can put IVC on there just on the off chance that you do come or that you will need our assistance. It's easier for us to help you in that way. And it's also, even if you're thinking that you're going to go to school outside of California, I always recommend that students put on at least one California school. Otherwise, you will not be determined. Your eligibility for Cal Grant will not be determined. So very, very important to put at least one California school on your FAFSA so that the California Student Aid Commission can determine whether you qualify for Cal Grant.
What a great point, Lisa. I love that, because a student may say to themselves, I really, really want to go out of state, which it would be a great choice for many students. But sometimes financially, when you get more information, that may change their decision. And when you click on attending a California university or college, the California aid then kicks in and they at least present you with the package, what that package would be. And that may change your decision down the road. So great advice. I love that. Quick question. How does financial aid help transfer students? Presumably they would be going to IVC first and then going on to a four-year university. Do they fill it out every year they're doing that?
Yes. So every October 1st, right? It's filling out the FAFSA, whether you're planning to go to IVC, whether you're transferring, every year you have to fill out the FAFSA. So did I miss something on that?
No. It was a lot of these questions are similar to questions that have been asked before. Okay. Well, I think those are a majority of the questions. If somebody has another question, we'd love to hear from you. And so quickly fill it out now. And then also it's important to note, Lisa, you and your team will be back, I believe, October 1st, which we've been saying that a lot because that's when financial aid comes out. But it's also when you're going to be joining us for another one of these Zoom sessions a week from today. I want to say at 4 o'clock. A week from today at 4 o'clock, you and your team will be doing the same place, same link. If you got your link from your high school counselor, it'll be the same link in a week from now on October 1st. And so I think at this point, what we're going to do is press pause on the financial aid segment. We'll be here answering just a little bit more questions, but we're going to get ready for the next segment that starts at the top of the hour at 3 o'clock. And that is going to be the Imperial Valley College Career Education Department. And I think my colleague will be here at the top of the hour to introduce that section. But in the meantime, what we're going to do is if Norma can take back over the slideshow, we're going to put up, in fact, actually, if we could, Norma, if you can hear me at our office at the County Office of Education, if you could put back up the slide for the financial aid department, so that if students want to give their information to Lisa and her team so that Lisa and her team can reach out to them, there's a QR code that they can do that with. And we didn't get a chance to do that very much at the top of the hour.
Okay,
So,
Todd, I'm working on it right now.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Norm. So if that's, we'll get that up here shortly. But Lisa, is there any other kind of summary points? And I'll kind of take the time as you're talking to look at the questions again, but is there any summary points that you might have that while I check the questions real quick?
It's just to complete the FAFSA, right? To get that FSA ID done, complete your FAFSA. You, as Todd mentioned, you could be applying to 10 different schools. And as long as you do what's required at those schools, you will get 10 different offers, right, to consider for financial aid purposes. So it's important to follow up with those schools and to determine what's necessary to complete your file. For a lot of students, it's pretty easy. You're just completing that FAFSA, and maybe you need to do just one or two things extra, and then you will get your package. Other students are selected for a process called verification, which is a little more information that needs to be provided to the school that you're planning to attend. And you need to follow all of those steps in order for them to determine your eligibility. And if you don't know something, you're not sure, ask. So every office is different, especially in this particular situation, on how it'll be best to ask those questions. But if you're unsure, don't be afraid to ask those questions.
And if they don't have an email, this is the time that they start creating one.
Yeah. Yeah.
For FSA purposes.
Perfect. And that could be a Gmail, that could be any of those things, right? But just not your high school. Sometimes high schools have Gmails, not your high school generated Gmail, because sometimes that stays at high school and you don't get to keep it.
Yes, what happens is that I had a call from Central the other day, and they were asking, because they're going to connect the high school email to web grants. But the thing is that I told them that once they leave, they're going to lose it. So this is the time they have to start creating. So that way they have that.
Yeah, and at this point, you're going to be creating all types of usernames and passwords. Your FSA ID for web grants, for the different schools that you're planning to attend. It's very important that you keep track of all of that information and you do so in a secure manner, because it can get a little out of hand, but it's important information. You'll need to know how to log into these different systems.
And if I can add, Lisa, they also need to be informed that they're going to be eligible for financial aid only for 6 academic years.
Yeah, and to earn your bachelor's degree. So it depends. It's Pell Grant that has the 6-year limit, right? And student loans have dollar limits per aid year. So every program has a different amount. Cal Grant is 4 years, right? So every program has its different limits. So you want to find out for that program that you qualify for, how long it will last, how it can best be used, and make the most of your financial aid by actually completing your coursework and completing your goal.
Well, I love the sound of that, Lisa, and that's a great reminder. Thank you, Leticia, and the financial aid team is thinking about that window of financial aid that you're going to get, and when do you want to use it? When's the time that you want to, when's your window opening and when's it closing, and what you want to do with that and accomplish the goals that you have. And IVC is a great step in that, and other universities are as well. And financial aid is often the enabling fact of being able to do those things. So, but it's not unlimited. It's a focused time. So we have to be specific about it and mindful and strategic as students when we're going to higher education and in K-12 world. From kindergarten through our 12th grade year, it's just been compulsory. We've just had to go, and it's just been there. That's not the same when we leave high school. So great, that's a great point, and thank you to your team. Okay, well, hey, Lisa, thank you for your team showing up today, and I think it's just amazing that they're here helping us, but that you all host a virtual Zoom 8 hours a day, every day. So if you have questions, which this has probably been one of our most popular question and answer series that we've had so far. If you have additional questions, go to the Imperial Valley College webpage, imperial.edu, and look up financial aid and all that information, including their live Zoom hours, their essentially their office hours from 8 in the morning till 5 o'clock. Did I hear that correctly?
9 to 5 for the Zoom.
9 to 5 for the Zoom.
We're on staff from 8 to 5 through phone and email.
Great. So, and that's every day. So we encourage students, even now in high school, we encourage you to pick up the phone and call IVC, and they'll answer your questions, and you'll make an informed decision when you're doing these things. So it may seem complicated, but not after you're talking to the financial aid team at IVC. It'll seem easy. So